Welcome to episode 3 of our podcast, Last Pack Magic. I know it's been a little while since the last episode, but we got things sorted out and we're back on track.
A little while since the last episode, but
Oh, is that me?
That's me. Sorry. My name is Francis. I own Pokemoocanada. This is Kevin, owns KD Collectibles, the biggest middleman of PSA in Canada. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going? What an introduction after 5 months of not doing a podcast.
Yes, we had a little bit of a difficulty scheduling a time to do this because Kevin was moving a bit. So
Moving around, my wife has her own business, and the market is nuts. So it's been hard to prioritize, but now we are back.
yes, and we've scheduled time that we're gonna make sure that we're gonna get at least one episode a week and some other videos planned along the way as well to talk about the market, because we see a lot of videos out there right now talking about it, but sometimes it doesn't pertain to the Canadian market as much, which I think we should have some more people talking about the great.
We always lag behind. We always lag behind the US significantly. Like even if you look at like US distribution, they'll sell out, and like 3 months later, we'll still have the product in Canada at our distro at an increased price, but still available to order. But the US will be completely sold out of product.
Yeah.
So we are very much behind on a lot.
But it's still good to talk about it, to see what the market is and see how the industry is in a whole and where it's heading in the future. But there was a lot of grading questions that was kind of like trickle down from the last episodes throughout that.
And then I did a Q&A last week as well. So I guess it's on the weekend. A lot of people have a lot of questions. A lot of people have a lot of questions
that I picked out that I think it's worth talking about as well. One of the questions was, do you think PSA 9s will ever be worth more than the versions of a raw card?
Yes, because I never used I commented. I responded to this one in the group, but I never used to get back a lot of modern PSA 9s. It was always 10s. I mean, you would get 9s, but like the vast majority, if you're grading it, most people are getting a PSA 10. Especially when it was like Sword and Shield. But Scarlet Violet, like total crapshoot. I get PSA 7s from Pack Fresh cards back for people all the time. All the time. So yes, I think that PSA 9s will become closer, like more than their raw counterparts, but probably not by much, because at the end of the day, like there's a lot more people grading too. Like I was doing 4,000 to 5,000 cards a month. Now I'm doing 4,000 to 5,000 cards a week. So like 4x increase in the last 3 or 4 months. So it's gotten crazy that way. So yes and no. It could, but I'm not positive if it will.
Well, I think for like a lot of people talk about like more so for modern cards, because we know that like WotC and a lot of stuff that were older definitely there is a premium for 8s, 7s, 8s, 9s as such versus raw, right? But
yeah,
I'm starting to see, as a more of a modern person,
yep.
I'm starting to see that there are premiums for 9s. So, for example, we all know Paldea Evolved Magikarp is one of those cards that are super hard to grade in a PSA 10. You see there's one there. So, starting from last year, 9 was the same price as a raw, but during the last few months, I'm starting to see a little like separation between near mint raw prices and PSA 9. So I think as we start to see that, I'm not saying every card in a PSA 9 modern is going to be worth than their raw counterparts, but I think that as we start getting more data on cards that are hard to grade and are these sought after chase cards, we're going to see that separation between 9s and ungraded as time passes by, and we're going to see that bigger and bigger gap between that as we go further as well too. Like especially the Paldea Evolve, I think the But besides the Magikarp, the other cards, the Groudon is also
I think Groudon, or is it Groudon or Tyranitar? One of them's in that set. I think
one of
it's
those as
Groudon.
well too is also separating as well too. And I think the next one you're going to see is Raichu's going to probably start going to nines or starting.
Raichu, I think, would be the next one for sure. But you also got to keep in mind that vendors are a lot different. Vendors are a lot more about making their money. So if there's a disparity between a 9 and raw, if the raw is better or easier to sell because people will speculate and try to grade it, then those people are going to break those out and sell them as raw and act like they never have been graded. And with how kind of hard it is to grade and the changes in it, people are regrading cards more and more often. So you gotta also be aware that most of these big cards that have like big disparities have probably at the very least been graded once. If you're buying it raw from somewhat well-known vendor, then they definitely graded it and sold it raw. So
no, not all vendors, not all vendors.
not
right?
all, but there are definitely a bunch, especially in Canada, that buy 9s, crack them, sell raw at a premium to try to convince people that they're going to get 10s. So
hey, if you look at all the cards, especially in the newer certs and stuff like that, right?
mhm.
Between a 9 and 10, it's very, very minimal, right? So like,
Yes.
no, my 9 is your 10, and it's one of those
Well,
things.
no,
where,
no, like the saying goes with people who grade a lot is like today's 9 is tomorrow's 10. Like there shouldn't be that much of a difference between a 9 and a 10. So most times, if you have a really clean 9 that's not centering related, you can get that to a 10 if you resubmit it, I guess.
yeah, no, for sure. Another question that people are asking is, does PSA use AI to grade? I know AI has been thrown around a lot out there in this industry, like, with tag grading, and I think previously, what's that other one called?
HGA.
Yeah.
HGA, yeah.
There's a bunch of other ones that were like there that uses AI grading. It's always been thrown out there. It's kind of always just like a
It's a buzzword.
Yeah. But like, does PSA use it? You're more like the insider person of it. I don't know if they use it. Do they use it?
So I can only give what I know and what I know I can say. So does
Tell us
PSA
everything.
use AI to grade at different parts of the step? I'm sure. So even Ryan Hogue, the president, has talked about how they're implementing things to alleviate human necessity on the grading things for certain aspects. Ultimately, you're always going to want a human to verify a grade. That's what people overall want. If anyone, like I said, when they bought Gentleman, and Gentleman was doing stuff for Gentleman was an AI kind of grading thing that had started up just after COVID. People were taking like cards and that were graded an 8 from PSA Beckett and stuff like that. And once it went through the software, it was getting like a 4.3. Like at the end of the day, nobody wants a 4.3. You want a grading scale that represents accuracy, but also represents value. So at the end of the day, like if you could never get a 10, when CGC started, they never gave 10s. You could submit thousands of cards and never got that gold label blue, like that blue gold label 10 pristine card. It was almost never a thing, right? And they suffered because of that, because at the end of the day, people do want their cards to hold value, and a PSA 10 is associated with that. So bringing AI into it is obviously not just like a seamless process. Like now we're just going to implement AI. Everything has to have like nuances. It has to be tweaked. Certain sets have to have adjustments. Like the silver bordering of jungle is a normal thing. Like almost all jungle has a silver border, like a silver edge. And AI will automatically see that as a negative unless it's programmed to not see that as a negative, but then it's only for that specific set, right? So it's hard to do it that way. So the way I know AI has been implemented is when your cards arrive, they've asked it that all cards be sent in semi-rigids, because AI is taking those photos that first arrive. And when those cards first arrive, they are individually taken a photograph front back. At the same time, I believe the AI does the centering at the same time. And ultimately, that's why you see centering has become a bigger hurdle for people, because it's definitely become a harder early, like a much more difficult guideline than it once was, or it feels that way. So at the end of the day, like it's hard to know if it's tweaked on the back end, but I know that the centering is done from an AI, but it's verified afterwards by a human, and that's just because eye appeal will always have a necessity in grading. You can have a perfect card, but if something looks off or the saturation is off on a card and it doesn't reach the expected appearance of that, then they can't give that. You have to look at that more on a vintage sports side with sun fading and saturation and the coloring and that kind of stuff. Those affect those grades a lot more, considering like a 2 is considered a good grade on like a Mickey Mantle rookie card, right? So looking at something like that, you have to, there's a lot of nuances that you can't just implement AI. And I think an all AI grading system is never a good thing. No bashing Tag or anything, because they are carving their own niche. But like, I still think the human verification of having those people looking at things is very important.
I mean, speaking of Tag, have you tried selling in Tag Slab?
I have no tag slots myself, so, and I remove myself from these conversations because I offer tag grading for my customers.
Well, I have no ties with Tag, but personally, my experience is I've gotten some Tag slabs back from you, some good 10s as well too. These slabs feel great, they look great, but when I try to sell it, nobody wants it.
Well, and again, this is another issue on the Canadian market side.
So even if you bring it to a Collecticon, which is one of the biggest events, I would say, in the TCG market, I bring even if you bring like the tag slabs to one of these vendors, they would just be like, no, thank you, or like, I'll take it at like a 60%. I'm like, the heck, right? Like, it's like the risk on it is too high for most of these vendors to take to sell, kind of thing, right?
Well, and that's true, but I'm saying like from a Canadian vendors, like Canadian vendors scoff at CGC. In the US, there's tables of just CGC, and they sell fine in the US in comparison to Canada. It's just another alternative. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know about Tag because my collection is 100% PSA outside of 4 cards. So right, like I have no horse in those races because I deal with PSA. So
yeah. Well, speaking of cross borders and things like that, I know that people always I get asked about when I do submissions for you and stuff like that. Is like, what about the tariff situation? Do I get tariffed? What will I and my card's going to cost more when they come back? And they're like, what's this whole situation about? I think they stopped that tariff thing earlier this month, right? And then
they did and they didn't. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's not tariffed if you.
Oh, we lost KD. I guess they cut him off because he doesn't want to. They don't want to talk him talking about tariffs. But from what I know is that the PSA blocked off submitting through them from Canada because if it lands on their doorstep and there's a charge for the cards, they don't want to be responsible for that. Is he back? No, he's not. I know for a fact that if you were to submit to CGC by yourself, they have a disclaimer saying if you're from another country and there are tariff fees or whatever it is involved into that, it will be added to your bill at the end of the day. But in terms of KD, I submitted thousands of cards through him this past. I was just saying like PSA hasn't disabled that block from Canada yet because they still haven't figured all that part out. But other grading companies like CGC, if you were to submit through them, they would all have like a disclaimer saying that if they were charged anything, they would put that cost onto you. But I was saying how I submitted thousands of cards through you ever since tariffs became a thing and have never gotten charged anything on top of what was stipulated in your cost there.
Yeah, so I mean the tariff situation is not technically done. The issue right now with the tariffs is that it's technically to do with like non North American printed. So the fact that I submit Japanese cards is an issue right now, technically at the border. So if you're
His internet died again. So I'm guessing the new trading thing is just to do with North American products. So English cards are safe from the tariff, but because there's a lot of Japanese, right?
Yes, give me 1 second. I got to put my phone on do not disturb.
Who's calling you? Come on.
Multi-
But anyways, I think Kevin explained this earlier, saying how because a lot of people are creating Japanese cards, Thai cards, Korean cards, Chinese cards, and things like that. That's when it becomes an issue because those things should be tariffed. But at the same time, it shouldn't because they're not staying in the States. They're being graded and sent back to wherever they're from, which is Canada right now. So basically, if you go through KD, there is no tariffs.
Sorry about that. I'm back. It's do not disturb now, so no more phone calls. Yeah. So there's no tariffs. If you do the paperwork properly, you wouldn't have tariffs anyway. From a business perspective, if you're a personal person submitting, you're gonna run into issues, and there's no negotiating if it comes back. And you get tariffs. I know people have said that they ship it back to the US and go pick it up and then lie to customs when they come across. You can do that. In my experience, it's probably not a good idea. If I deal with customs enough that it's not worth a headache if you decide to piss them off. And that could easily do so. But Beckett and CGC will not. They just warn you, whereas PSA is not offering their service to Canadians outside of dealers right now until next week when the Canadian branch, which is Nova Scotia, moves to Mississauga, and then PSA Canada and PSA themselves will have their own website, PSA card, I think .ca. I don't have the URL yet. I don't have access yet. I should get that probably just before everyone else to test it. And then it will also go live so people can submit from Canada again, utilizing that Mississauga or the dealer network that exists. And yes, it'll just get funneled through the US. To my understanding, there'll be no submissions going through the US outside of routing through the Canadian PSA office, if that makes sense. So yeah. It should be live next week.
Well, politics and external factors always affect the business, regardless if we like it or not. Like, for example, Canada Post was on strike for 2 weeks with no warning, which affected a lot of people, a lot of businesses as well, to me personally, which kind of sucks, but you just have to deal with it when things like this happen, right? And, tariffs can't control it.
Well, it's very much a situation where everyone likes to rely on their one thing, right? Like shipping via Canada Post, or only dealing with one distributor, or only doing one source. Like, everyone thinks I just do PSA. I do everything I do, but I do it on the back end. Like, I don't publicly have a storefront. I don't sell product. But at the end of the day, if PSA got taken away from me tomorrow, I would be fine. Probably have a lot more time, to be honest. But like for you, for you, like you have UPS, and now you've expanded your network so that in the event that something happens with Canada Post again, it might not affect you as much as it did this time out of nowhere, right? So that's the big thing, is like, I think diversifying. But I've always been a diehard PSA guy, and this is like the main part of my business, and it will continue to be the main part of my business until it, or if it doesn't make sense, which I don't see that changing right now, even with Mississauga opening, because we are handling a crazy amount of cards a week, and the vast majority of my business still wants nothing to do with the process. They just want their cards graded and an invoice when they come back. But the major changes of them opening Canada is you no longer have the ability to, for example, like I have customers who take 2 weeks to pay their invoice, and it is what it is. Like I don't care; it all flows through, right? So at the 1 month mark is where I start getting red flags of contacting people. But if you're submitting through PSA and you are in a financial situation where, hey, like I can't do that right the second, there's no option. They charge your credit card, it's coming through. There's no submission consolidation. So if you send cards at TCG, value plus, regular, you want one that's autographed, you're paying return shipping, PSA return shipping on every single one of those submissions, regardless. If you're picking up in Mississauga, you're going to be paying shipping almost guaranteed, because those cards are still going through the US. So regardless of a drop off or pickup situation, you're going to have those incurred costs. And a lot of my customers are sending multiple submissions similar to you. You send 50 cards, but 20 submissions of 50 cards, right? So if you were to do that, you'd be paying that more expensive shipping every single time, whereas I just consolidate it all and give it to you. But I don't know how that affects my price either. I just increased my price, so I'm hoping that I don't have to change anything on the TCG side, because I think like
To be
obviously,
determined.
yeah, TBD. Right now, it'll be fine. I mean, I'll probably be the last one to change if I have to, because my volume, I can spread things across, so I don't have to adjust it. Some tiers are more profitable, other tiers are almost not profitable at all, but have to be offered to those people so that they can get all of their stuff done. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But there's a lot of changes on the grading front. In terms of turnaround times, it's going to continue to get worse. It doesn't matter.
Well, speaking of
Unfortunately,
changes in PSA, one of the questions I think it's very important to discuss is: do you think the grading has been harsher for the past 5, 6, 7 months or so? That's like the
yeah.
biggest thing
I
that
mean,
everybody tells me or says, and saying how they've made it harder to grade. There's more and more 7s and 6s and stuff like that. What do you see? Because you go see thousands of cards coming back every
well, I
day.
mean, it's a
So
situation where people have become conditioned to expect a 1 month turnaround time, or like the only thing, like, you know what I mean, like, or expecting that they're automatically going to get a 10, or like I deal with a lot of people, a lot of first time graders who think that all of their cards are 10s, regardless of never grading before, not knowing what goes into grading, what is, you know what I mean? Like, so the hard part is, yes, it's definitely gotten harder. It's definitely gotten harder. The I would say like things like edges, corners, that stuff's the same. Um, but you also got to keep in mind printing, manufacturing, multiple print facilities coming online in the US. They're still transitioning volume to Millennium Print Group since they purchased it. So Pokemon itself is printing more and printing faster and trying to get stuff out as more. They care less about QA and they care more about cards getting to people's hands. And yeah, and like Ricardo says, like the centering is like has become an obvious thing,
very
and
obvious.
most people only look at the centering left to right, but it's a lot of the
Up
times
and
on
down.
these Scarlet Violet is top bottom that
Yeah.
has issues, right? So but people want cheaper cards, so Pokemon has no choice of like, okay, like something that may have been caught by QA and been like, oh, these are too off center, or probably not if I'm being honest, but like the volume of printing is a lot higher too, right? So
Yeah, like my own personal experience is like, last year when I was grading stuff, like my percentage wise, it's like 80 plus in terms of 10s, right?
yeah.
Now it's significantly dropped, but the type of cards that are being sent are all the newer sets, the SV stuff that's coming out the last couple months and stuff like that, the more modern stuff like that. And I see that the print quality has changed quite a bit in terms of from Sword and Shield, I would say. especially those IRs and stuff like that. That you always make fun of me when I grade them, but they're rough sometimes in terms of like how like bad they are, right? Like they come back 7s and 6s and stuff. I'm like, the heck, this is
on like the promo game, everyone's trying to get in on this promo game where like you just grade your promos and you make money, but like it's not just as easy as people think. Like I just mass grade. Like me, like I don't even pre-scan my cards. When I send stuff, I'll send 200 of one card and I'll get back like 4s and 6s and 8s, and sometimes it'll go really well and I'll get a bunch of 10s. Other times I'll kick myself for not spending a few hours going through and pulling out some of these and ending up with 189s. Whereas like similar, like me and Ricardo bought a bunch of the Korean Dittos and we graded 100 of them, or not, we graded 90 of them and we got like 82 10s out of 90. So like that's without going through them. That's just like, okay, these were printed well, right? Whereas like everyone just wants to try to make as much money as they can right now, which is unfortunate because it feels like people aren't actually like collecting. And the ones who are ultimately don't care about grading most of the time anyway. So
yeah, I mean, if you look at when I go to the collecticons and stuff like that, most of the people they don't really grade as much as what I thought it would be, because I guess the volume in the States is just so high, where like they're going from weekend to weekend, it's just show after show after show, where they make more money having that product there just to flip it for like 20-30% every single weekend versus
like
putting that card in
there's
for 4
maybe
months straight,
there's
right?
maybe 3 vendors in Canada who could touch some of the decent guys in the US. I wouldn't even say the big guys because the big guys are like titans, whereas like the Canadian market is so different. Like a lot of stores in Canada should be grading that don't, because they don't turn signals quick enough. Whereas I have customers who just they can't grade because sending a card away for 3 months, they could turn the card 20 times in that amount of time. But like the US makes Canada look like it's just like not even moving. Like it's wild. But if you talk to just like specific Canadian vendors, or just like see how they interact, like they think they're like at that tier of like, but like the big guys in the US, you don't see them talk about how much they do in a show or how much they move. It's literally just a business transaction and move on, right? Like some of these guys who do their vendor POVs like Bulbasaur or Jar Chomp, like they're not sitting there bragging. It's a business, it's move, it's go, it's I don't need to be better than you, and that's it. Like I'm just gonna move my product and on to the next show. Whereas a lot of the guys in Canada, it feels like they are trying to prove something to other people. So yeah. Sean, are you going to be connected? So I'm still operating as a dealer. It's going to be no different. Right now, I pretty much work with Brad every day, which is the guy from Nova Scotia who ran PSA Canada. He's moving into Mississauga. He has what's his role? Brand director of brand development, I think it is, with PSA. So it's a pretty high position. Am I working directly with PSA Mississauga? No. Will I be utilizing them? Yes, because everyone will be. Until there's a situation where I'll still be flying down to the National in July. I'll still be flying down to LA probably twice a year to do drop-offs. I don't think that will change. In terms of grading in Canada, it's so far away, but it's also possible in the future. But right now, it's no. And everybody who sees the Mississauga thing, it's like, oh, they're grading in Canada. It's not even close. Like the volume in Canada needs to still significantly ramp up for them to justify grading in Canada. And I don't think people understand the scope of what it would be to justify that. So in a way, I'll be working with them. I'll be working closely with Brad and Dylan, who does their marketing. They're still supporting their dealer network. Hopefully more now that they're kind of close by. So we'll probably I'll try to push some events and do some things that are different. Like I said, I always try to make my business differentiate between other dealers. I think that's why I'm the one who's been doing it the longest, and tons have come and gone. but in terms of working directly with them, I don't I don't think I'll ever work for PSA. I don't think I could outwardly have a boss ever again at this point. Now working for myself for the last 5 years, like I don't think I could step into that, but I will have a close working relationship with them, if that makes sense. Kind of like yes and no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, kind of you do, but at the same time, you don't work with them like that aspect of it. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, well, enough PSA talk until we get more questions about PSA. Let's talk about shift things over to the markets. Crash. We're about to lose all our money. Are we?
I keep seeing this. I don't follow this. I don't even have time to look this kind of stuff up. So I have no idea. But like a lot of this I feel like has to do with, again,
Well,
inexperienced vendors thinking that because they bought something in a market where everything's going up, the second that it doesn't go up, that something's going wrong, right? So
I
like
think right now people are like a little too involved in the like everyday market trajectory of certain cards and products and such like that, right?
yeah.
I mean, me and you come from a day where like you buy Chilling Reigns for whatever and you throw it in the closet and you check 6 months later and then you sell
Or
it.
I sell it to you at cost.
Yeah, and then I sell it 2 years later for like 10x the price. But I think people are a little bit too like into the space where like they're checking every day to see like what the price is, and what the price
Mhm.
like drops up and down. And like people make mistakes and listing things for a little bit cheaper or anything like that, and then it will cause the market to change a little bit. Now you have a comp that's a little bit lower, so the next person is going to comp it at that, and then kind of creates a little bit of like a dip here and there, and it makes things worse. Like I think a lot of these cards, I know you don't believe in some of these cards, but some of these cards dipped a little bit because maybe someone just needed money quickly, wanted to sell it quickly, or they had a listing from 3 months ago and they just relist and put a picture on there and it sold, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So like I think everybody's a little bit too involved in its everyday trajectory of cards that a little dip freaks people out too much.
I
Where
think we're also in a world where like people think money is owed to them, and that, like, let's be real, like making money in Pokemon, as long as you have money to start, is very easy, right? And that's not normal, but either is making money in crypto, either is all these things. But like people have gotten to a point where they think money is owed to them, and they think like anytime that the money's not immediately going up, well then something has to be going wrong. But like I was in markets with Pokemon where things didn't move for multiple
yeah,
years, right? Like
years,
multiple years, right? And now, if we go back to that, a lot of these people won't know what to do because they've bought at all-time high. And it's like I used to talk about the sports guys, and I see it in Pokemon now, is like people don't know how to take a loss on something that's a losing battle and move on to something else, right? Like if you bought a car at $400 and it dropped to $300 or $200, even use $200 as an example, like the odds that that card goes back from 200 to 400 in a timely in a matter of time that matters is probably not a thing, right? Whereas like if you see a flash crash from like a Van Gogh Pikachu, that might just be people consolidating, because I know people who have 510s by themselves, right? So it's not just that, it's people just need to move on from cards that shouldn't be that high. Like the IRs that balloon,
yeah.
those are not going to stay that high, right?
Yeah,
Like
no, it's
drowsies went high. I submitted 200 drowsies in 3 days for people, right?
well, I think the most important is to understand what cards are actually like more sought after and a little bit more rarer, or in the sense of more, people tend to like more. Like, for example, yeah, the Drowsy did drop and hasn't really recovered. But at the same time, you see the Giratina, the Crown Zenith one, right?
Yeah.
Beginning of the year, it went to about like what, 600-ish Canadian. It dropped down to about 300-400 back in June, July. Now it's like over $1,000, right?
Yeah.
But like
Absolutely.
those are the cards that we know that are good cards that are hard to grade per se, and are very sought after cards that people are going to want in the future, right? So those small crashes, do we really care as much? I would say no. But if you're banking on the Drowsy being 10K, I think that's a little bit, far-fetched there in that aspect. But
For sure.
your favorite card, like the Van Gogh Pikachu's, right? They dropped a little bit. Your favorite. You hate on it.
That was just a big miss on my part.
You hate on it because you don't think it's worth that much, but like
I actually do. So I actually love the Van Gogh because of like I think cards that have historic or like artistic expression where you bring in things that aren't the norm, like Adidas
crossover.
Pikachu, like like the Adidas Pikachu, the Uniqlo Pikachus, like obviously the ponchos, but those are kind of overhyped right now. But anything like that where and then you get into like you look at iconic art, right? Like the Kingdra, which I didn't realize was a famous painting, like with the Great Wave or whatever. Shout out to Kevin Zhang for telling me that. But not just that, like those cool promos, like you got the Van Gogh and then you got the Munch promos. Like anytime you bring in something that's completely out of Pokemon and do like a crossover, that's what holds like true value to me because I think it's cool. Now, Van Gogh, I think it was very poorly executed and I think it was really badly distributed and not handled well from a business perspective. But I do think it's very cool and I do understand why it's expensive. But
it was pushing 3K. I think it went even over 3K at one point. Now it's dropped down a little bit to 2,700 or so like that. I mean,
yeah,
10% drop. But would you, if you had a Van Gogh, would you, I mean, you probably do, but I'm saying if you were someone that only had one Van Gogh and you see a drop from 3K to 2,700, should you be scared? Should you be like, let's sell this right away, it's gonna crash, or like?
I think right now you should be scared. I think right now is you're at a point where so much has been invested into certain cards like that it's not easy to predict that kind of stuff, right? So I think buying into anything right now is risky, outside of like the grails, but at the same time, like those grails are still very expensive right now, but they're justifiably expensive.
Well, when I look into like these grail cards kind of thing and look in to see what, like how the trajectory is and like what people actually think about it, I look into the biggest conventions and all the states in Canada as well too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Canada's a little bit different because people tend to sell things cheaper, get rid of them more because there's less people with that type of money to buy things.
Yeah.
But when you go to states and you have like a Van Gogh Pikachu and stuff like PSA 10, and there's actually like, I know the pop report is crazy, but when you go to those collecticons and front row whatever card shows and things like that, there's actually not that many at those shows. And then the people that are trying to buy them, they rarely give you a discount because they understand that those cards will sell at their full asking, if not higher, kind of thing, right? Yeah. And you see that trend with a lot of these big cards, right? You see the trend with the Giratina V from Lost Origins. You see the trend with, Lugia from, Silver Tempest. You see it from like a lot of different cards. The Mew, the Bubble Mew. People say like there's so many whatever out there. Yeah, I get it, but in the grand scheme of how many people does Collecticon get every single show? What, 10K?
I just look at it from like how much have I graded, and like it's a disgusting number, right? Right? Like even if you look at Moonbryons, I've graded over, what was it? I went through all my submissions. I've graded over 300 Moonbryons for people. PSA 10s. Not just that's just 10s.
But even at 300 seems like a big number, right? You can't tell me there's not 300 people in Toronto that want a PSA 10.
No, but I'm just little Kevin from Canada grading. Like think of that's just little old me. That's not including what gets sent through PSA Canada, what gets sent through JD, what gets sent through direct to LA, plus thousands of dealers in the US, plus all of the places in UK. Like that's the part that's crazy, right? Like,
yeah. What like here what Carl's saying is like people don't understand really the demand and the supply, right? They just see a big number in the population and think that, oh, it's because of this population things shouldn't be that expensive because of pop report, right? But if you look at the number comparatively to the number of fans in the world is key. That those numbers mean nothing really, right? And like,
well, and you look at like China getting more involved in Pokemon too, right? Like those people are gonna gravitate to things that interest them, which typically end up being vintage, grails, that kind of stuff, right? So
how many Pokemon fans are there in the world, right? That like collect cards. There's probably tens of, maybe even hundreds of million that collect cards, right? And we look at 27,000 population versus 100 million. That's like 0.0001% of that rating population. That's not including people that want more than one, which I know people out there that want to collect more than one of those cards, right? So like, unless a pop report is like a million, which will never happen, unless you get like a million pop report of like one single card, I really don't see how a card is going to be like over, like, you know, pop reports are too high kind of thing. There's like no card in Pokemon ever that has too high of a population report that I think doesn't meet the demand of what people are willing to pay.
See, this is funny because I look back and I just realized, like, I used to look at pop reports and be like, wow, like that's high. But looking at like what would it be? Like I would look at like a Rainbow Champions Path Zard and be like, oh, like it's got like 2010s or something like that. That was, it's probably more now, but back then. But then you'd look at like Zion Williamson, and he'd be like, oh man, like this guy's got 20,000 Prism cards in a 10 and like an extra like 50,000 in 9s and 8s, right? So like I used to be like, oh, like that's expensive. And now I look back and I'm like, man, like I should have been buying all those cards that I thought had had big pops that actually didn't.
Yeah. Well, also like rarity doesn't mean a lot of money as well too, right? Like, for example, that Celebi card that I have is like a pop 5, pop 3, something like that.
Yeah.
You always want to buy it off of me, but like there's not a number that I want to sell it to you that makes sense that you want to pay for it either. But
you won't even give me a number.
Realistically, you're looking at the hundreds, right? The dollar amount, right?
Sure.
In my opinion, pop 3 Celebi promo card, like that number should be like in the thousands, right? Which you would never agree with, kind of thing, right? So like something could be so rare, but the demand for it is so low, I would say. It's like, yeah.
I agree. Like, I graded Palkia level X, which I mean, like those are level X is hard enough in its own right, but like I graded a Palkia level X promo, and it was pop 4. And it was like a couple months ago, and I messaged the guy. I was like, how much is this? He's like, I don't really want to sell it, but if I do, I'll let you know. And I was like, yeah, let me know, because I'd be interested, because I always like those cards that are low pop and cool stuff, right? Like
I only sold once for like $200 back in like 2018 or something like that, right? Like I can list that for $1 million, right? And eventually, maybe someone will buy it. I don't think so, but you know.
Well, even then, he's like, "Well, what would you pay?" And I was like, "I don't know. I haven't seen one sell ever, right? Like, I don't know what I would pay. Like, why don't you tell me?" So he came back like 3 months later. He's like, "I'd probably ask like 10K."
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's probably cheap in my head, but at the same time, like I'm not paying 10K for a random level X just because it's like a pop 4 or pop 5. Like I couldn't justify it, but at the same time, like I could see where that number came from, right?
I'll play the Celebi for 10K.
Sure. I bet you would. That's a terrible card. I'm not buying that for 10K.
But no, it's just simple supply and demand. I think people in this hobby just don't really understand the scale of the numbers that are out there, right?
Well, they only see what's in Canada too, right? Like a lot of the guys in the Canadian groups aren't in the international groups and see like the bigger picture, I guess is what I would say, right? Like they see what's available in Canada, and that's why certain people seem like they have a lot when if you look at like a big scale, they don't.
So basically to battle this market crash is to focus on those sought after high in demand cards. Even if they're dipping right now, buy them up. This is your chance to buy them. Buy that Van Gogh. Are you selling any Van Goghs?
I have 4 sealed Van Goghs.
No, but I just see it a lot of sometimes as more of a buying opportunity, right? Especially those very sought after cards that, you know, that I want in my personal collection, right? When I see like that Lugia Silver Tempest, if that ever drops 30% or whatever it is, I'm buying it
Yeah.
up. I'm buying like 10 copies kind of thing, right? But when or if it will drop 30%, I don't know if that will happen.
I don't know if that'll happen. I mean, it would take. I mean, the issue is you also have to look at like the economy and who's running the show in the U.S. There's
Well,
a
you
lot
also
that
gotta
could.
understand that like we're actually in a high interest environment where things shouldn't be this popping like crazy, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
imagine when rates do drop, people have access to more money. Technically, it's supposed to even go higher, right?
Yeah,
So are
yeah,
we
I
gonna have another
agree.
boom in the boom in another
I
boom?
agree. I mean, I'm also very much like I don't know. I got to de-risk because I got a lot invested in Pokemon, and I'm not super gung ho on the future of like modern sets coming out the gate at $400 a booster box. Like,
You just hate on modern. We know it. It's
I
okay.
don't hate modern. I just hate on stuff that just came out and they could do whatever they wanted at
Well,
whatever
speaking of
point,
things
right?
that came out, what do you think of Mega?
I love Mega. I think that set is sweet. I have so much. I opened more Mega than I think I've opened anything in the last like 2 years.
Well, everybody is saying how usually the first set of a new era of cards are worse, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And how it always gets better and things like that. So, like, if Pokemon started off the worst set as this set, doesn't that mean the next few
I don't
sets
think
are
we've ever
Mega?
gone into a block this hot though. Like the market itself of like cards not sitting on shelves, that kind of stuff. Like I don't think we've ever had a market like this going into a new block or like a new era.
No, we haven't. But at the same time, as like, I think that
Although I guess it was pretty hot when we went into Sword and Shield, and Sword and Shield base and battle styles killed that really quick.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, I think it's more of like, you know, people actually not really have like there's no data prior to that when you were during that time, right? Like when you were buying a Battle Styles booster box back then, you didn't know it
getting
was going to go
forced to
up.
buy it.
Well, you didn't know you buying Chilling Reigns back then. You didn't know it's going to go up. You didn't understand that concept of it, right? There was no
Yeah.
history. It was not your history was a guy in a shop telling you it's worth keeping, kind of thing, right? There's no real hard data on those things versus now there's a data for everything, right? Like people are going crazy over data. Like people are going crazy over statistics and Pokemon and why and this,
Yeah.
why that, right? Like there's a graph. Like I was looking at it earlier about like the trends of what kind of Pokemon sells every single month, right? And it shows like number one sold Pokemon is Pikachu, and it grows every single month, right?
Yeah.
The dollar amount that's been sold, right? Charizard's there, Umbreon's there, you have Mews and Gengars and stuff like that, and then there's charts about like saying how month to month it increases. Like, I mean, some of them decrease, but like it shows you the dollar amounts that like compared to last month and how popular one Pokemon is versus the other Pokemon. Like, we never had that data before when we first started.
The only data I go off is when random people from high school start messaging me, being like, "Hey, you sell Pokemon cards, right?" And that's when I'm like, "Oh, this is getting bad." When random people are coming to message me that I haven't talked to in 12 years, being like, "I can't find Pokemon. Do you sell them?" And that's where I'm like, "Oh, this is either a really good market or a really scary market."
But you
Which
don't think that booster boxes at 400 sustainable at all?
I wouldn't say that it's not sustainable. I think it's possibly sustainable. I just don't think it's a good business decision for me in the space to not diversify capital into better opportunities.
Because like what I think is that Pokemon is gonna eventually want a piece of that pie in terms of like if it sells consistently at 400 for the next 10 sets, you don't think Pokemon's gonna increase their
Pokemon cares a lot more about the actual playing side than the actual selling side, right? Like if they're making acceptable margins, will they continue to dial up those margins? Of course. Will you continue to see them selling their own product on Pokemon Center where they don't have to sell to a distro and they can sell at MSRP and make that entire profit? Yeah, like that I think will change. Do I see them cranking a box at $400? No, because at the end of the day, like if they're making their justifiable margin, then probably not. Will they continue to scale up their price? And yes, but so will stores, so will everyone else, right? As long as it's selling and people are making money along the chain, then I don't think it'll change. But Pokemon's main thing and why it survived when it was hard was because they had people playing those games, like playing the game, and the accessibility of those cards still needs to
It's
be a
very
thing.
accessible, right? Like, you can build the best deck right there out there now for like what, $80, $60? Like, it's not much.
I don't even know how to play, so
Well, I play it here and there. I'm not great at it, but like I build a deck. You can get a deck for relatively cheap. You don't need to have, the most expensive rarity in a deck to play that game, right? You can also
I
buy.
did sponsor KD Collectibles did sponsor the number one player in the world. So we are on his jersey and that he wears, and he won number one in the world this year. So shout out.
Well, that's a Bitcoin versus gold versus S&P versus Pokemon returns chart. Yeah, that's like a crazy chart where they just like the data for this space now has increased so much that you can compare everything and you see like the flow of like all these sales and stuff like that. I think it's just like a lot more,
Listen, if they want to convince Wall Street to start buying Pokemon, I'm all for that. Let's go.
The
Like
problem
tell
with,
everybody to buy Pokemon. That's fine.
the problem with Pokemon is that it's too low dollar amount. We think it's expensive, but this is too low a number for Wall Street to consider buying. I mean, people will buy a few things here and there, but Pokemon's not sports, right?
I mean, you can do a lot with $1 million of capital in Pokemon. Like a lot of just $1 million, right?
Yeah, but $1 million.
And you
to a
see it
Wall
with the
Street guy is
manipulation of
nothing.
certain cards already. Like it doesn't take a lot to corner a market on things.
But $1 million to a Wall Street guy that has to deal with Pokemon will be like it's too much effort versus they can.
Well, yeah, and like selling things and dealing with that, right? Like
warehouse issues and things like that. Right?
You got to deal with people telling you they're only paying 70%.
Yeah, versus if you have $1 million, you can click 2 buttons and make double that if you can, right? So like there's still like Wall Street won't get into there. There's not enough.
This is a good time to note that Francis is the day trader, so that's why
there's not enough money in there to like actually go into it. If you're talking about like 50 to 100 million, like kind of thing, then maybe people will start taking it more seriously.
Maybe there'll be more distros starting. 50 to 100 million.
Wall Street guys, they'll look at it, but they won't touch it. Sports is different because they do have those $1 million cards. There's not many.
Well, you see. I mean, everyone's talked about this at this point. Like Kevin O'Leary and Shine, they spent $27 million US in the last 2 months buying sports cards.
Yeah, but
for their fund, right? Yeah. But if you don't think that they're going to invest in certain Pokemon cards, you're wrong.
Low dollar amounts, though. Too low dollar amounts.
Yeah, but if they buy 10 first edition PSA 10 Charizards, that makes up where they need to be.
Yeah.
So if you think they're not going to do that, I already know that they are. So
I feel like there's more people in the sports world that go crazy over those cards versus there are Pokemon people that will spend that money.
Sure, but I have people that are buying Pokemon who are sports friends that just want to they want to hold the Grail Charizard, and that's the only thing they want. Like they have the Jordan, the Gretzky, the LeBron, and now they want the Pikachu and the Charizard. Right? Like it's not that wild to see them do it, because like anything that's been around for 30 years is not just going to disappear overnight. So it makes sense and will push people to buy it that way. Do I think they're going to invest millions of dollars into Pokemon? No. But do I think they'd probably drop a couple $1 million on buying a bunch of PSA 10 cards? Yeah. And if you don't think they will, I bet you're wrong.
Well, no, I think they will, but I don't think it's going to be like as mainstream. Like,
I don't think they'll have a fund dedicated to Pokemon, right?
Pokemon cards kind of thing, right? I don't think it's going to be as what people think. Like, it's never going to be like trading stocks or futures or gold and Bitcoin, because it's just not as easy to liquidate unless you create that market. But which a totally different thing that people can do. But someone smarter than me can figure that part out. But what do you think about Phantasmal Flames?
I mean,
should you be buying it at $500 right now?
I'll sell it at $500. I don't, like I said, I don't think I'll ever go out of my way to buy a modern booster box at anything above what I buy them for, right? Like I bought Mega at, can't say the price that I got it at originally, under $200 a box from Distro. And then I bought more at 330, 360, 390, all the way up, right? But I dollar cost
Their last
average.
sold is 330 US, right? So that's close to $500.
Is that for Mega or for Phantasmal?
Yeah, it's like 460, 450, 460, roughly. You don't think it's worth spending that much?
I get worried about anything that's that expensive, man. Like that's a lot for a box of Pokemon, right? Like you're not chasing like a numbered card like you are in sports, and that justifies like
Yeah, but
like
sports is even
why?
more expensive than that.
Sure,
Right?
yeah, I get what you're saying. I just, from my perspective, like I don't know if it's a good buy.
Well, like I think
Maybe it is.
why like certain sets, like for example, Destin Rivals went up so much to 500, 600 Canadian wise, is because the chase cards, right? You can pack Mewtwo, and that card would be worth quite a bit of money. It grades a 10, it'll be even significantly more money, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, the value of the chase cards drives the booster box prices. That's why, in my opinion, drinking together, it's kind of capped off at that price point because the chase card isn't high enough for people to chase. Temporal Forces, Paradox Rift aren't going to those heights is because those chase cards are not as up to what people want. Hence why Paldea Evolved went so high is not because people just randomly said like, oh, let's pick this one to pump. It's because it was worth it. It was actually worth it to open booster boxes at one point to grab a Magikarp to sell or potentially grade. All you need is one gradable one to cover like how many boxes of booster boxes, right? And until it wasn't anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I
for
think
sure.
Right now we're in a market where the market dictates what the price of booster boxes is based off of the chases. So when Phantasmal Flame comes out and the Charizard is going to be $1,000 plus, right?
For sure. And I think it comes out right in your expo. Like, when's it come out?
I think exactly as Expo.
Bring them by my booth. I'll buy them all.
I think it's going to be $1,000 out the gate, right? Like, and then people are just going to keep ripping it, right? Because like it's just going to be one of those things. It's going to be like Prismatic. Everybody says it's going to print it to the ground, and everybody's going to like it's going to be like $1 a pack, $7 a pack. It hasn't dropped that much, right? Like it's dropped, but like it's like Prismatic has that. It's plateaued, right? So because there's a big chase in there, so I don't think there's going to be a.
Never have you had a pack of cards come out that is like a car, right? Like, right? Like that God pack that comes out of a pack of Pokemon is just literally like, it's pretty crazy to think that they have something that valuable in a Pokemon pack that's even like, and that's why I don't think you'll ever see Prismatic be a bad set, because at the end of the day, like that pack in there, even if everything tanks and goes down, what does it go down to? Like $2,000 raw for that pack, and that's still in a box that could be a $40 surprise box or
well, ETB will never be under $100 Canadian wise.
Right,
will never
I agree.
Be under $100, right? So it's like one of those sets that's going to go crazy forever, right? Like it's going to outpace the Evolving Skies in terms of how fast it goes up, in my opinion, at least.
I agree.
So I don't think this little market crash is really going to be like a crash. I think people are just kind of like offloading things for what's better to come.
Well, they're de-risking and leading into like the economy is bad, and we don't see that because we're like, I don't see that. Everyone tells me the economy is bad. I don't look at anything. I just play with Pokemon and grade cards. But like my people who aren't in this space tell me how like rough it is in like the economy. So I think I think
people also seeing new sets of stuff coming out, and they're like, do I want to keep this or do I want to buy 3 new booster boxes or a case of Phantasmal when it comes out, right? Might as well just
absolutely.
My Van Gogh has went from $800 to $3,000 now. Maybe I'll just sell it and then I can buy Phantasmal Flames to open, when it comes out, kind of thing, right? So I think
It
we're
could,
having
yeah.
a little bit of like a shift in that aspect of it because I don't think, but more, I think it's just going to be a little bit of a dip before it goes up again because we're going into Christmas time, right? Holiday season.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna tell me that
Oh yeah,
Pokemon's gonna
I agree.
die
It's
during
definitely going to go up. Definitely going to go up for sure.
like if this conversation was in February, I'll be like, fine, maybe I'll die, right?
Well, I mean, like Pokemon always has the legs to prop itself up on, and like people think that things go down, but like anytime there's been bad economic times, Pokemon in general doesn't see
Well, it's like
nearly
Magic,
the
right?
same.
Magic is recession proof.
Nothing's recession proof, but
I
yes,
mean, if
like
you're like a regular player and things, you're recession proof, right? Like
yeah,
not like a
it's proven
crazy
to be.
investor or anything, right?
People turn to vices when things are rough too, right? So that's part of it, right? Like alcohol sales go up during a recession too, right? So like people spend their money on things that they need or feel they need, which if people like a lot of people are addicted to opening packs and doing that kind of stuff. So like it's not
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprising to see it not drop a lot.
But I think that we have established a norm where booster box is going to be this 300 plus mark already. I don't think we're going to see a drop under $300 in a booster box in the near future, probably
I
at
don't
least
think
until
so.
next year, right? It's just a matter of like, is it worth 500? Depending on the set, maybe kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you take a longer term, 2-3 year kind of like time frame, I don't think it'll matter at all what you're buying in at right now, right?
No, at the end of the day, like if your time horizon is not right now, it's always going to be with Pokemon. It's always been proven that it is a good time to buy.
Yeah, it's today. Buy from KD.
Yeah. Like I mean, I don't sell anything, so don't buy from me because I have no time and I do a sale on Facebook and I forget about it for a month. So don't buy from me.
It's been 4 or 5 months since we last did this podcast, which we're gonna continue going, more
Every
consistently,
week,
but minimum once a week. But anyways, last time you made fun of Pokemon Go, right? Have you seen that Mewtwo in Pokemon Go now? Like, come on.
I mean, the Mewtwo was always a cool card, but
Mewtwo was like $20 when you were like talking about
still a terrible set.
That Mewtwo says different, right?
How much is the Mewtwo? I haven't looked it up.
I think in the PSA 10 last was like over $500.
Damn.
Yeah, let me double check to see what it is.
Hold on. Let me get some Pogo to open. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, it's just about $500 for the PSA 10. Raw is close to like $90 to $100 now. That Pokemon Go. As long as people are keeping their cost basis calories sell off the market, we'll be fine. Yeah. Like I said, everybody I think right now is just shifting some of their higher end stuff to move to like the future stuff kind of thing. That's why I think this crash is here. But yeah, the raw card for Mewtwo V is close to $100 Canadian, and the PSA 10 is $500 Canadian. You
want to bet that I pull nothing good?
You hate on my Pogo. You hate on Pogo. You know what the next set is where you also hate on is
Black and I didn't hate on Black Bolt. When did I hate on Black Bolt?
You make fun of it. You're like, it's gonna be kind of like meh.
This goes to my my number one fan, Ricardo. I'll bring it to you at the next show.
I have a locker full of those. You want some? I'm gonna give it all to you. I'm gonna ship it
10 packs in this?
I think 9. I'm gonna ship you the whole thing. It's like a
9
pallet of those.
Here, does anyone want a code for Pokemon Go?
I think those expired already.
Codes.
I think those are expired already.
Expired? Yes, they do. Oh, 2 years ago. Over 2 years. 2.5 years ago. That's wild.
Yes, but I think we hit the hour mark where it's kind of getting a little bit dragged on. I know we're a little bit all over the place for this episode because we have a lot to talk about. But going forward, we'll be more like focused on certain topics and things like that. If you want things to be discussed, let us know as
drop
well.
Drop a note, drop a comment.
Yes, and before we end, we shall open a pack because
that's what we do.
That's what we do.
It's actually 9 packs because I got these on clearance, so they're cheap enough to open.
Let's see. Will I make my money back?
No, you won't.
Come on. Nope. Here's a code card for people. Oh,
Hey, look, a reverse
energy.
reverse Ditto. Reverse Pikachu.
Grade that. Probably a lot of money.
No, it's not.
It's graded. We should do that. We'll grade one card from whatever we pull.
You're gonna want to open more than 1 pack then.
We'll grade whatever we pull.
This brings me back to when I used to do pack openings.
Hey, you should start doing
No
that.
time.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, slacking.
Let's grade that.
No. Stop. People are grading enough bulk for everyone. I don't need to get in on that. All right. There we go. We'll grade the Gyarados.
Okay, grade that.
That's
You know what? In 10 years, that'll be worth a lot. Some artist is gonna draw the other side of that. It's like eating a magic carp or something like that, and that's gonna be worth like 10K.
eating a Magikarp. Of all the things it could eat, that's like a family member to it. Hey, there's a good one. Look, the Ditto.
Yeah. See,
The peel card.
See, Ricardo will buy like all the 10s. You know, he'll vend and sell them. It'll be
10s
great.
only. He's like, I'll give you $20 a 10. It costs me more to grade it, but that's Ricardo. Look, Blastoise. I'll grade the Blastoise for fun.
Yes, but I think this is the end of this episode.
Oh, I got 2 more packs here, man.
Not more. Oh.
I gotta pull a
Look at you
Radiant
baller here.
Charizard.
Opening 9 packs. It's last pack, not the last 9 packs.
Well, the last 9 packs. The last 9-pack magic, you know? I can't hold it up facing the camera though. To me, that's super weird. Oh, look at that. We go with a banger.
There you go. That's
You guys say this card looks like me.
That's
Yeah.
you.
There you go.
But, like always, if you want anything grading, make sure you check out KD Collectibles. You want to buy some great modern PSA 10s, check out my website, of course, as well. You know, Kevin always hates me on that, but modern is
What?
king. Modern's
king for now.
Modern is king. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.
See you later.